Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. I'm your host, Jerron Harrington, back to hit you with another video. This video is pre-recorded for your enjoyment. I am currently on vacation at the moment. This video was pre-made ahead of time, something that I thought you guys might have to look forward to. That being in the Naruto Yokai series, What If Sasuke Uchiha Was a Girl? This is just a little special OVA doing the day that Naruto became Hokage. Something to get you more acclimated with this universe as a whole compared to most others that I've done, as we will be getting into the Boruto era rather soon. I do want to thank everyone who supports PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. As always, I cannot do it without you. You make the channel grow, you make the core grow. A little bit for a pre-recorded announcement in terms of what I'm going to be doing for the other videos coming out while you're hearing it this week. They are going to be strictly audio based, meaning there's not going to be an intro or an outro. We're just going to get straight into the story, and that's pretty much going to be it. Simply because I'm not sure, at the time, I didn't really think that there was going to be much of intros that I could do since I'm not recording these videos by the day. A lot of these were pre-recorded ahead of time, and in order to make sure that I had content for you guys, I had to skip the pre-recorded message. So that's just a little difference that you'll be seeing in the videos this week in particular. Also, I do want to warn, next week I'm not sure if I'm going to come back either, because next week I think I'm also going to take that week off, like no videos, nothing, unlike this week, simply because I have stuff that I do need to take care of, and even still, I don't know if I want to get right back into making videos right away. Taking a week or two off, just allowing myself to relax, decompress, everything else, and then get back into it. That's really what I'm looking forward to. So for this week, I am off, but you are going to be getting content. However, next week, I think I'm going to be taking that week off as well, and there will be no content. Although I will make posts and everything else so that I can be engaged with you guys. So make sure you watch for the community tab as well and everything else, so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that's to come out now and in the future. But anyway, without further ado, we're going to get straight into today's video. So as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. It was a bright and sunny day in Konoha. The birds were starting to awaken, and the sun shined brightly over the village hidden in the leaves. For many, it was a special day, for the time had finally come, where Naruto Uchiha Uzumaki would take his rightful place as the 7th Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves. As Naruto awoken in his office, seeing the sun peek through the window, he would go to the bathroom, wash his face briefly, before arriving downstairs as he smelt cooking coming from the kitchen, greeted by the scene of his lovely wife, Satomi Uchiha Uzumaki, her long dark hair covering up her left eye, the eye of which contained one of her more powerful dojutsu, the Rinne Sharingan. As Satomi finished breakfast, she would look to her husband, telling him that the coffee was already made, as he went to make himself a cup he would stand behind her briefly, kissing her on the cheek and wishing her a good morning. For Naruto, life as a father was far from easy, but it was a challenge that he had come to love in and of itself. He cherished his 3 children and his wife, and the thought of not being around them as much was a thought that even he did not truly relish, even if he was going to obtain his goal of being Hokage. Satomi would ask Naruto to get the children as they were in the backyard, and Naruto shook his head, coffee in hand, as he moved towards the back patio. Sliding open the door, he would see his youngest sitting on the wooden deck, Jiraiya Uchiha Uzumaki. The young boy looking as if he were a smaller shadow clone of Naruto, from his blonde hair to his blue eyes, with the exception of having 2 whiskers on both his cheeks instead of 3 like his father had. As the young boy looked up to his dad, Jiraiya would wish him good morning as he hopped up to give him a hug, Naruto doing the same as he asked what he was doing out here. Jiraiya would simply turn his head and point to the backyard itself. As 2 blurs would move, Naruto could easily see who they were, and he couldn't say he was surprised, for it was none other than his 2 oldest children, twins, Boruto Uchiha Uzumaki and Sarada Uchiha Uzumaki. The 2 dark-haired Uchiha Uzumaki twins were doing their regular sparring as always. It was how they chose to settle things most of the time, each one vying for superiority over the other. While each child was good in some areas, they lacked in others. For Boruto, he took after his father, always fighting and being unpredictable in his movements. Whereas Sarada was always straightforward, methodical with the way that she fought and in her approach to battle. As Naruto watched, he was impressed with how his children were progressing. They were already in the academy, and they were showing to be some of the brightest that the school had ever seen. Of course, there were others within their class who were also equally capable, and Naruto could see that the future of Shinobi was in safe hands. As Boruto and Sarada were now going into the final clash, Naruto would yell to his 2 children to draw the battle to a close, as it was time for breakfast, and they had a busy day ahead of them. Of course, the 2 children were so caught up in their battle that they didn't hear a word that Naruto said. Naruto and Jiraiya looking at one another as they can only shrug their shoulders and shake their heads. But then there would be an eerie silence, as they could feel a tinge of bloodlust. Satomi was a loving mother, but she had a short fuse. Naruto would pick up Jiraiya and move him out of the way to the side as the door flung open. As Boruto and Sarada continued on in their battle, from out of nowhere, a 3rd figure would appear in front of them. With a swift kick and a punch, both Boruto and Sarada would find themselves falling to the ground instantly. As they got back up and wondered just who it was that had interrupted their battle, they both quickly fell silent as they saw the deadly stare of their mother. She didn't even need to activate her Sharingan to inspire the fear of God into her children. The 2 of them standing in attention immediately and bowing, as Satomi would tell them all that breakfast was ready, and that, while their spar was definitely entertaining, and they had gotten better, now wasn't the time. And with that, everyone would go inside of the house immediately, where breakfast would be had. Once her children were fed and properly taken care of, Satomi would go off to pick up the embroidery for Naruto, the special cloak that he would be wearing as Hokage. The person in charge of making the cloaks had been in charge of this job for a long time, an elderly woman who had been around since the age of the first Hokage. This gave many questions as to how the hell she was still alive, seeing as how she had managed to live through all 4 of the great shinobi wars in the world history. She was definitely a sight for sore eyes, doing a job that she would not pass down to anyone else. Satomi would tell Naruto to make sure that the kids were dressed and to bring them to the ceremony when it was time, and that she would meet them there. After kissing her kids tenderly on the forehead and kissing Naruto on the cheek, Satomi would be off. Naruto and the children would finish their breakfast and get dressed quickly, as they would make their way towards the Hokage Tower, where the ceremony was going to be held. As they made their way, before long, the crowd already gathering about. Off in the distance, standing next to a pole, they would see someone dressed in a black cloak. As they got closer, Naruto would recognize it was his brother-in-law, Itachi Uchiha. As he turned to them, Boruto and Sarada and Jiraiya would race to him immediately. Among all 3 of Naruto's children, Boruto was the most in awe of his uncle. You see, from a young age, Boruto had always looked up to him, always viewing what he did as something that was truly exciting. Of course, Boruto respected the title of Hokage. He understood the lineage and the people who had come before him. His grandfather, and soon his father, taking their respective roles. However, the title of Hokage was something that truly just didn't interest Boruto at all. It wasn't out of anything personal, it was just not the career path he would have chosen. However, his daughter, on the other hand, Sarada, she was in complete awe of the Hokage. She studied as much as she could about her late grandfather, Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage. She also spent time with Kakashi Hatake whenever she got the chance, the current 6th Hokage. And now, her father, her own hero, was going to be the 7th Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves. She felt like she truly did have a lot to look up to. And she, more so than any of the children, had developed the dream herself. She wanted to work hard, and someday, she would be Hokage as well. The first Uchiha Hokage. As for Jiraiya, Jiraiya was a mixed case. The 3rd child, he wasn't sure where he fit in the grand scheme of things. His older brother wanted to be like his uncle. His older sister wanted to be like his father. But as for Jiraiya, he was just someone that wanted to keep the peace above all else. Whenever his siblings were arguing or getting into fights, he was always the one stepping in to break it up. He just valued enjoying the family together as a whole. He really didn't care for any type of title or any type of role. If he never got anything special, that would be fine with him. He was the most content out of them all. Something that Itachi picked up on more than anything else, because he saw a lot of himself in young Jiraiya. As the children all gathered around Itachi, Naruto would ask if he could look after them until the ceremony was over. Itachi agreeing, since he was visiting the village for this day in particular. Even after the 4th Great Shinobi War, even though Itachi was cleared of all charges for the Uchiha massacre, he still felt as though he owed it to the village to look after it from the shadows. So, half of the year, he spent his time traveling the world, assisting the other villages in anything that they might need, as well as continuing to be the one from whom watched in the shadows themselves. He had even taken up to investigating Kaguya's dimensions. Satomi would soon be joining him as well. As she had the Rinne Sharingan, she was the only being capable of traveling across dimensions. As such, the brother and sister duo would travel 2 months at a time before returning back home for 2 months at a time. This was a process that they had decided to do. Out of the 12 months of the year, they were usually gone for about 6 of them. This was an off month, Satomi making sure that this would be the off month for them, as she wanted to look after the family more, wanting to spend more time with everyone together before Naruto took his role of Hokage, knowing that the times that they would get to be together would become a bit more far and few between. Of course, Itachi volunteered for them to cut the mission less and less. After all, a mother should have a chance to spend time with her family, but Satomi knew this was for the best. All the same, she just wanted to enjoy a brief quality time before her schedule became a bit more chaotic. As everyone gathered together, the village all dressed in their formal attire, standing below the Hokage monument. On top of the tower itself, Kakashi Hatake, known as Kakashi of the Sharingan, the man who copied 1,000 jutsu, and now in possession of the late Shisui Uchiha's Sharingan Eye. He stood in attention, Shikamaru and Konohamaru by his side, and Naruto quickly arriving behind him. Just before it began, Kakashi would give Naruto a look over, telling him that the time had finally come, and now he was looking forward to retiring. He and Anko were going to be taking a vacation actually pretty soon, along with their son Hoki Hatake. This is going to be a chance for them to truly bond as a family, as Kakashi had spent the first few years of his young son's life as Hokage. Even during times of peace, he did find himself rather busy, and now he was finally going to have a chance to have one-on-one time. This was something that Naruto feared, the idea of balancing Hokage duty and family life. It wasn't that Naruto regretted the idea of becoming Hokage. No, that dream had never changed. But even now, Naruto could recognize that there were costs. He wondered if this was something his father would have had to deal with had things turned out differently. All the same though, Kakashi assured Naruto that everything was going to be fine. That above all else, he had the village that would support him, and that he didn't have to shoulder the burden alone. Kakashi was always there if Naruto ever needed him. Not to mention, he had a wonderful family that would always be his support and his strength. Just as he finished this, Satomi would arrive, giving Naruto his Hokage cloak and helping him adjust it on his shoulders. As she tied the knot holding it together, she would give him one more kiss, as she looked towards her husband, beaming with pride. It had been so long ago that they made the promise that they did. The promise that they would support one another for their dreams to finally come true. And now that day had finally come for them. Satomi watched as Kakashi would begin the ceremony, as he spoke out to the crowd, telling them all that his time as the 6th Hokage had come to an end, but that now, the hero of the village, the one whom saved the shinobi world, was now going to take his place as the next Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves. As he ushered forward, Naruto Uchiha Uzumaki would stand and take his place. The people cheering and roaring in attention. Naruto seeing so many faces in the crowd that he had come to know throughout the years. He saw Iruka Sensei. He saw Sakura and Kiba with their daughter Ryo. He saw Lee and Hinata with their son Ishii. He saw Neji and Tenten with their daughter and son, Momo and Sora. He saw Shikamaru's child with Tamari, Shikadai. He saw Choji and Karui with their daughter Chocho. He saw Ino and Sai with their son Inojin. And finally, he looked over to where Itachi was, and he saw his 3 children, the smiles on their faces as they waved to their father, all of them beaming with pride. As Naruto looked out to them all, he would give a brief speech. He wasn't sure of what he wanted to say. He wasn't sure if he could find the words. But now he felt as though he could put something together. Hello everyone. My name is Naruto Uchiha Uzumaki. It is a great honor that I accept the title of 7th Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves. As I stand before you all, I think of everything that I've been through. I think of the road that I have taken to get here. I think of all of the teachers who I have had to teach me, and the lessons that they imparted. I think of the late 3rd Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. I think of my own master, the late Toad Sage, Jiraiya of the Sannin. I also think of Master B from the Cloud Village. And I think of all of you. Despite everything that I have been through in my life, I have always looked at the village as my family. Even in my darkest moments, I have come to know love. And with that love, I have also come to know the pain of loss and the fear of losing. As your Hokage, I promise to love and defend this village, for it is my home, and you are all my family. I also would like to thank, above all else, someone who was with me from the very beginning. I know she'll probably kill me for saying this, but I feel as though it would be inappropriate of me if I did not say it now. I was born during a troubling time in our village's history. I grew up without my mother and father, and there was a time when I had no one in my life. There were times when I wanted to give up into despair. And there were also times when I found myself drowning in my own darkness. But I met someone. I met a girl. The first person who truly accepted me, who loved me for who I was, despite my flaws. Someone who has been there for me through the very beginning. And I don't know if I would be here today without that someone. Naruto would turn back as he looked towards his wife. She was blushing rather profusely, trying her best to hide her tears. Satomi, thank you. Without you, I wouldn't be where I am now. And so with that, I promise I will do my best for this village. I will defend it with my life, and I promise you, I will not let this peace be brought to an end. The crowd would all cheer in applause and in approval. Everyone overjoyed, as now the 7th Hokage had taken his place. From there would be a great festival, many celebrating and enjoying the occasion. Boruto getting a chance to interact with some of his friends, one in particular who always had fun teasing him. The girl had long, brown hair, tied into twin tails on both sides. Her eyes as white as snow. The girl's name was Momo Hyuga. And above all else, she enjoyed picking on Boruto. The Hyuga girl always having toothpicks flung into his hair. No matter what Boruto did, she simply couldn't miss. She even got creative with it and started making patterns in the back of his head when he wasn't looking. In a mere second, she could have almost 100 toothpicks in the back of his head. This causing Boruto to go madly insane more than anything else. Although whenever he tried to confront her about it, she would just simply laugh and brush him off. As everyone down below were enjoying the festivities, Naruto would go to a familiar place. He would be standing under a tree in a forest that sat on top of the Hokage monuments. This forest oversaw the entire village, but this tree had great significance. This was the tree where he first met her, all those years ago. As he stood there, he could sense that someone was approaching and he knew exactly who it was. He also expected what was coming next, a punch in the arm. Ow! What was that for? You just had to be really smooth, didn't you? Saying all that stuff. Well, what can I say? It's the truth. Well, yeah, but you don't have to go telling the truth all the time, you know. Satomi would quickly cover her mouth as she realized that her husband's quirky trait had now started to rub off on her. Don't laugh at me. I'm sorry. It's just... you just start saying you know, like the rest of us. I guess you really are one in the family. Ow! Oh, I'm sorry. Satomi would bop Naruto on the head once again, before she too started to laugh. The two of them standing next to one another as the fireworks started to go off in the distance, the full moon shining upon them. The husband and wife, standing next to the tree, where both of their initials were carved. So much had changed for them in that time. So much that neither of them could truly have imagined. As Naruto held his wife close to him, her looking into his deep blue eyes, he would part her hair on the left side, looking into her Rinne Sharingan, although Satomi would try to keep her eye covered at all costs. Now, why would you want to do something like that? Because you know how I feel about the Rinne Sharingan. Yeah, you know how I feel about you. It's not the point. people always want to look at it all the time, and I know you... One, you probably miss both of my regular eyes. I only have one. Who would think that the great Satomi Uchiha Uzumaki would be that insecure about her eyes? I'm serious. I mean, sure, it's cool for power and all that stuff, but, you know, sometimes I just wish I looked like how I used to. The looks really don't matter all that much to me, and you know that. I love you for more than your looks. Your eyes could be any color in the world, and it wouldn't matter to me. As Naruto and Satomi were held close to one another, their heartbeats moving at a pace where it seemed as though they had both become one. She would reach her hand towards his face, caressing his cheek and feeling his whiskers. We finally kept our promise, didn't we? Yeah, we did. You didn't have any doubts, did you? Shut up. I didn't have any doubts at all. Well, the Kaguya fight, that was a little touch and go, but it wasn't anything we couldn't handle. Yeah. And this is just going to be the next chapter in our lives. Satomi, I love you. And I want you to know that. I'm thankful. You're not the only one. Maybe. But you've given me so much. You've given me a home, a wonderful family. You've supported me from the very beginning up until now. And I want you to know that that's something that I will always appreciate. With you by my side, there's nothing that I cannot do. And I promise, I'm going to protect you, our family, and this village with everything that I have. You're not the only one. When you fight, I fight with you. You will never be alone, Naruto. I promise. I love you. And I love you too. The two of them would share a passionate kiss under the tree. A kiss that seemed to last for all eternity. That was until they would eventually hear the oohs and the ahs. As they turned over, they would hear rustling in the bushes not too far away. Both Naruto and Satomi knew quickly who it was, as they heard a chuckle from a treetop not too far away. Well, you certainly know how to charm my sister, don't you, Naruto? Itachi? The children would then come out of the bushes. Sarada was in full blush, as she loved to see her parents being all close and intimate. Boruto couldn't help but laugh a little bit at how his father could be so forthcoming with his feelings, something that he didn't see all too often. And Jiraiya, well, he was just happy to be there. Both Naruto and Satomi both felt a little embarrassed at the fact that their children saw them like this. Itachi simply laughed and carried on, assuring them that showing affection in front of their children was nothing to be embarrassed about. But Satomi still felt it all the same, as she started to chase after her brother, who simply vanished away. He told Naruto that he'd be back pretty soon. In the meantime, they should enjoy their time together. As Itachi left, the children would quickly rush to their parents' sides, both Satomi and Naruto holding all three of them close together, as they overlooked the village hidden in the leaves, their home. Naruto saw everything that he was fighting for. He saw the family that he had come to know and love, the new family that he had grown to accept. Everyone and everything in this village was precious and important to him. And as Hokage, he vowed that he would do everything in his power to make sure everything stayed the way it was. This was his new goal and his new dream, and a promise that he intended to keep. However, sometimes keeping a promise is not as easy as you might think. For years into the future, a moment will occur, one that will change the shinobi world in a way that none of them could be expecting. In the future, the village would lay in ruin, the Hokage monument destroyed, two beings standing on the half-destroyed face of the seventh Hokage, Naruto Uchiha Uzumaki. I didn't think you'd go this far, Kawaki. After everything? Come now, Boruto. You of all people should know that the age of shinobi is over. And now, it is time that I remove the final obstacle in my way. Like you did Itachi? No. Something different. I will send you where I sent the seventh. Young Boruto would bring his headband over his head. As he opened his eye, his Sharingan blazing. That may be, but even still, if this is the end, I am a shinobi. A dark pattern would form across both sides of their bodies as they would begin their clash in the destruction of Konoha. But how did we get to this point? How did everything come to ruin? What will lead to this dark day in Konoha's history? And what will the fate of the shinobi world be? Find out in the coming future. This concludes What If Sasuke Uchiha Was a Girl, Naruto Yokai OVA, the day that Naruto became Hokage. If you enjoyed today's video, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is Power Core Productions and Podcastings that's to come out now and in the future. I'm Javon Harrington with Power Core Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.